Subscribe and click on the bell icon to be the first to see the latest videos.
Please welcome Mr. Kannan.
Good morning to all of you. So you must be wondering what is that finance leaders can do to make the customer satisfied. Today you look at any organization, they say that if the organization has to survive, they say they want to have the best customer experience. You all know about Kodak, you all know about Nokia. I had never come across a phone of a very high quality like Nokia so far. But still that company went bust because customers were not buying the phones. Kodak, as you are all aware, best product, but customer preferences changed. So that is what made companies go bust. And if you look at today, why companies go bust, there are, if you look at what is happening around the world, there are three types of disruptions happening. One is, as I said, one is the customer preference by itself. When somebody purchased a car 40 years ago, they wanted to keep the car for the life. When they purchased a refrigerator, they wanted to keep it for a life. Yeah, so the products were made to last forever, including a company like Bata. But today, if you look at the customer segments in India, there are 12 levels we have in terms of income. There's always a constant movement of a person from one level to other level in terms of income bracket. So what happens is that when a person moves from one income bracket to other income bracket, the preferences totally change. So they want to have a same product in a different form. You all know that Maruti, the largest selling car sometime back was Alto. So people, what they used to buy the lowest level, then they go to next level, next level, next level. That's what used to happen. But now if you see which is the largest selling model, that is the middle level, not the cheapest car. So where is the role of finance coming in here? Today's finance is not the finance which you have seen 20 years back, which is mainly accounting. Slowly the role evolved. Today if you see a role of a finance, it's almost equivalent to a CEO in terms of the type of inputs they give, the type of, in fact, resource allocation. And today's most challenging aspect of a finance function is how you are going to allocate resources. It's a challenge. 20 years back, if you had gone to a company like Hindustan Unilever, they didn't have a division called organized retail. So when Reliance wanted to come to retail in the year 2005, 2006, 2007, FMCG companies created what is called the online retail business. Not online, this is that organized retail. Now if you see, I was speaking to the P&G managing director yesterday when we had a meeting with the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh. He was saying that today most of the sales is happening through, not most, a significant part of the sales is happening through online. I was speaking to the CFO of Philips in India. He says more than 60% of sales today happens through online. So where is the role of finance coming in? As I said, now it's at a much higher level in terms of how we are going to look at a customer. So basically when you say customer satisfaction, it all relates to the strategy a company has to follow. How we are going to address the customer. If the customer is not happy, you might have the best products in the world, you might have the best factories in the world, you might have best people in the world, but company will close. So that is why customer satisfaction is important. So then if you look at what is that, whenever you look at customer from a finance perspective, there is always a cost of acquiring a customer. If you talk about a credit card, it costs about 1,000 rupees a customer. So like that, every time you look at acquiring a customer, there is a cost. So some surveys were made and people found that the cost of keeping a customer is 1/6 of, on an average, it might vary from industry to industry. The cost of keeping a customer is just 1/6 compared to cost of acquisition. So the most important focus should be on how we are going to retain the customer. And second is that earlier people used to talk about market share. So if I am going and selling something to a customer, so if he is spending suppose 100 rupees for a product, or all customers are spending 100 rupees, I should have maybe 10 rupees, 20 rupees, so 20%, 10%. But now the concept has moved on. Now people are not talking about market share, people are talking about wallet share. What is the wallet share? If somebody 100 rupees is earning, 20 rupees is going to invest in financial products, which is 20%. A company which is into financial services, they want to have 15% of it. So that is why you find HDFC Bank or ICICI Bank selling everything, including the competitors' products. As far as they make money, they do well. So now, so you also hear about today platforms. People don't talk about businesses, they talk about creating platforms. And in this platform, what all I can bring, so I can leverage. It's like a pipeline. So I have a pipeline, whoever can transmit products through this, can I make money? So these are all some of the things when you talk from finance perspective, financial perspective. This is how we have to look at in terms of strategy. The companies can adopt 5 types of strategies. Within a business, a company can look at 5 types of strategies. One strategy is that I'll be cost leader. I'll compete purely on cost. You take companies like Indigo Airline or Gary Detergent. So they will not promise you any service or high expectations. Whatever is the bare minimum, I'll offer you. So their cost of providing service compared to others is 50%. Cost of providing service. But at the same time, they are able to service 40-50% more customers. So their profit comes from volume. That is one strategy. Where clearly you tell the customer you don't expect service, yeah? Or any of these Chinese products you buy unbranded, they will tell you, you buy from the shop, you go out, don't come back to me. The second is that you have a focused cost leadership. You don't give low cost to everybody. You have income tax, they say above some age, you have concession. Or you go to airlines, if you have children, 50% concession. So like that, there are concessions for various groups. So you give low cost. Whoever sells to army, defense, they have to sell it at a cheaper rate. So that is one type of strategy. Third is differentiation. Whichever car you buy, within the same model you have 5-6 different variants. Do we understand those 6 variants? We don't understand. You say, I am buying, let us say, Vento. Within Vento, they have 5-6 models. The price difference between the lowest model and highest model is 40-50%. We don't understand. So you want to differentiate a customer. So if you go to a dealership, they want to sell you the highest model so that the margin is very high. So that is a differentiation. Then you come to the next strategy, it's called focus differentiation. That is where you have Mercedes-Benz. All these companies which are selling, a few volume is very low, but you differentiate it so well, margins are very high. Finally, the best strategy a company can adopt, Maruti. You have very good quality, offering at a very high price. So you are able to attract volumes. Maruti, you take Hero Motors, you take Amul. These are all very high quality products but offered at a very, very affordable or what you can say value for money equation. So these are type of strategies. So whenever you talk about finance person's role, your product, and today what is the strategy of companies? They want to be in all the 5 segments. Earlier one company wanted to be in only one segment. So they don't want to address the other segments. Now they want to have products in all segments. They don't want to leave any gap open. So the cost of servicing customer in each of that is different. So one of the issues in finance, what is the issue today? You go to many companies today, I don't know how many, at least 50% of the companies in India, they do not have a very well-defined cost centers, profit centers, and investment centers and SBUs. The starting point of keeping a customer happy is that whether you are calculating the cost of producing a product correctly. So unless you define the centers well, and all of you know about the activity-based costing, unless you adopt that type of approach, the starting point of finance is that whether you know the cost of providing service to each customer. So if you know that, then you can determine your margin. So that is where we had so many presentations today in the morning. I was very impressed, where they were saying that by doing all this, you will be able to do some kind of come to the correct cost. One more thing today, companies calculate profitability for each customer. If you have 5 million customers, you can calculate profitability for each customer, thanks to the IT. All that presentation we saw by JSW and by earlier speaker. So you'll be able to see, if I'm going to serve this customer, what will be my cost, what is the profit I earn, whether I should keep the customer or not. Whenever you talk about what is the role of finance, I'm sure many of you are adopting this concept of balanced scorecard. Why this concept came? I think this came in the year 1990 or 91. And before that, what companies used to do, in the US and all, they used to give incentives to top management based on their profit. Profit for a year doesn't tell you whether the company will do well or not in the next 5 years. It tells you what has happened in the past. As a result of that, you have made a profit. So it doesn't tell you that the company is prepared for the future. So what is this model says? This model says that if a company has to survive, why I am coming to this is the focus is on customer. This model says if you want to build a company which is stable, which will last longer, then it says that the starting point is that do you have skilled employees, trained employees? So starting point is having very good employees. There is a learning and innovation perspective. Whether you are able to innovate new products, whether you spend enough on R&D. So that is the starting point. The next one, it talks about process. What is the process you adopt within a company? Internal processes. Whether you are able to operate your plant. I remember before that Y2 issue came in IT sector, the maximum capacity utilization, manpower utilization of any IT company in India was not more than 64%. Today you go and look at these IT companies. I used to ask companies, so what is the maximum you can achieve? They used to say 67, 68. Why you can't achieve? We have to keep 15% on bench and all that. But now they are doing 78, 80. So where was that 15%? So they are forced to look at all these and say, okay, they did a lot of things. Then they came up to 80%. So operational excellence is very important. So you start with the good employees, trained employees, skilled employees. When you have them, then they are skilled. Then they produce the products which will satisfy the customer. When the customer is satisfied, the customer is going to pay for the product and service, which will be reflected in your profitability. So this is a tree structure. You start from the lowest level, there is a cause and effect. So now what we are saying is that if you want to keep the company alive for a long time, you always have to keep the customer happy. So today every company says that we want to keep the customer happy. We have a lot of IT systems and all that. But what is the problem? But now most of the companies were not used to serve so many customers in the past like now. So while using these IT tools also, we are finding it companies are not able to satisfy every customer. One more thing, whenever a customer comes online and he buys for the product for the first time, he has a bad experience, he is never going to come back. In the case of store, you have a bad product, go speak to them, they convince you, they will replace and all that happens. But somebody comes and buys something on online for the first time, and if you are not able to satisfy the customer, you lost the customer forever. So this is the perspective. I'll just run through this fast in terms of. So today, the focus of organizations, and one more thing you remember, today the world has become hyper competitive. Companies are competing on cost as well as quality. So in the hyper competitive world, what is the differentiation you can make? But those days when we talked about differentiation, a company has created differentiation that was good for 5 years. Today when a company comes up with a differentiated product or service, it is replicated by the competition within 6 months. So you lost your competitive advantage. So what is the competitive advantage? Competitive advantage is how you are going to keep the customer happy. If he is going to be happy, the customer is not going to move to any other product. So that is the focus when we talk about finance. So the finance role is exactly calculating cost and the pricing strategies. I will just run through this. So it's widely understood customer service is critical to business success. One major thing, I told you disruption, there are 3 types of disruption. So one is the customer preference. Second is the regulation. When people say that there is ease of doing business, remember every year a new regulator comes. We had only one regulator in 2000. Today we have 14 regulators. You will find 6 more in another 6 years. So it will be much more difficult to do business. Compliance will be one of the challenges. Yeah. So then technology. You know, mobile has disrupted 50 different businesses today. As a mobile, it is replaced 50 other products. It will replace 50 other products going forward. So the 50 industries future is at stake with this mobile revolution. Yeah. So firms must become customer adaptive to meet rapidly evolving behaviors. So companies, that is why the focus should be on, if somebody says that I want a budget, this is how I am going to keep the customer happy, then finance, while looking at resource allocation, this has to be given higher weightage. Yeah, resource allocation. So investing to improve customer experience must be clearer. Then customers may become more. So now there are a lot of self-service channels. One of the things which companies are doing is omni-channel. Somebody comes and sees your product in a retail store, in a showroom, but they experience the product there, but they go and buy it online. So if you talk about a company, and of course if you are going to have a digital presence, it's not going to cost too much compared to creating a physical presence. So one of the strategies which CFOs have to look at is omni-channel kind of distribution system, where you are present in retail, organized retail, direct marketing, internet marketing, e-commerce, and of course mobile commerce today. Yeah. So then the role of CFO is significant in customer delight. Why? Because we have to understand whenever some budget request comes, if that is towards, there is a good justification in terms of how they are going to keep the customer happy, then that should be given a higher weightage. So it's more cost effective to avoid bad service rather than provide top tier service. So that is another thing. Many a times companies provide service and much beyond the expectations of customer also. That also, as a CFO, you can look at what is that the customer really wants. If you are giving service which is much beyond required or required by the customer. For example, you take Microsoft. So what percentage of capability of Microsoft do we all use? Hardly 0.1%. That's it. But we pay for the price. So that is why you find companies like GE, X-ray machine. The initially X-ray machines were made for taking a whole parts of the body. Then they came up with small X-ray machines which will take only one part of the body, which is cost effective. You can carry it in the hand. You can carry it to a rural area. Much cheaper to operate in a rural area. So like that, you have to look at how the product innovation can happen. Yeah. So it's more cost effective to avoid bad service rather than provide top tier service. So you have to look at what is the real customer need. Then linking customer and financial performance, I told you. If you take that balanced scorecard approach, it starts from there. If a customer is very, very happy with the product and service, so you say, this is the price I want, they are willing to pay. You know, Walmart as a company is very, very powerful in USA. But there are few suppliers in Walmart. They created a kind of influence where they are able to extract the price they want from Walmart because their service levels are much, much better than other suppliers. Walmart is one of the best negotiators of purchase in the world. So with them also there are few companies which are able to go and extract a premium from Walmart for their products. So that is a good example. So you are not moved. It's not moving, yeah. So conventional strategic marketing suggests that customer satisfaction influences financial performance. So develop an end-to-end process to underpin the omni-channel customer engagement capability within a company. Today it is a need. It has become a need for every... Today cars are not being sold in internet, where it requires the support of dealers. Otherwise they could have started selling cars 20 years ago through online. Yeah. Then, as per research, 1 point growth in increase in customer satisfaction gives 4.9% point growth in operating income. They went and did a survey. So whenever you are able to increase the satisfaction of the customer, it is reflected in the bottom line. So that linking customer and financial performance, I told you that balanced scorecard model is a good model for that. And the roadmap to customer experience and filling the loop. One is praising the services appropriately. You all know when Honda came up with that dual fuel option, the petrol model was being sold for 13.5 lakhs. And they said that dual fuel option, they will sell it for 21.5 lakhs. In 1 year, they are not able to sell a car. So then one fine day morning, they said that price is same, 13.5 lakhs. The whole inventory of 1 year was sold in 3 days. So this type of misappropriate pricing has happened in many cases in the history of India as well as global. So one of the major things which finance can play a major role is, as I told you, look at the need of the customer. One is this is affordability, second is preference. So then help in setting the price appropriately. Similarly, when I think computer chip was introduced, it was introduced for, I don't know, some chip was $10 or $100. Then Intel suddenly realized the potential. Then the price was increased to $1,000 within a month. 10 times more. Yeah. And similarly, I will give you Toyota, which one? Toyota SUV, what is the name? Now, Innova, when it was introduced in India, it was 6.75 lakhs 14 years ago. Today it is 19 lakhs. The cost of material has gone up by only 3 lakhs. Price has gone up by 13 lakhs because customer is happy. These are some of the examples. So where finance can play a role, if you find that the demand for a product, just now the organizer was telling me, when auto sales is going down by so much, MGA is not able to take more, they stop booking the order. So if you know that the demand is much higher than supply, then pricing should be different. Pricing has to be higher. Yeah? Then, so there is a need to strike a balance. Building process for improvement and innovation is very important. Developing products and services from customer's point of view. And each objective should be concise and should have measurable result. Whenever you talk about finance, you talk about measurement and finally bottom line. So roadmap, pricing the services appropriately, this I told you. So then you have to develop a culture. Today I believe, I don't know, most of you might be having, the finance departments have started recruiting data analysts. They are not part of the marketing team. They are also part of marketing team. Now they are also part of finance team. So these people have started analyzing the customer data, purchase patterns, profitability for each segment. So that has emerged as a major theme today. So you will find maybe after 5 years, 50% of employees in a finance department are not finance experts. They will be data analysts. So that is what it's all about. So thank you.